Jojo, a 10-year-old boy who keeps Adolf Hitler as an imaginary friend but can't tie his own shoes, lives in the fictional city of Falkenheim, where Nazi Germany is crumbling. He's a true nationalist and a fanatic, instilled with Nazi ideals and eager to help his country during the war, which is why he's joined Jungvolk, the Hitler Youth Junior section, with his friend Yorkie. They'll be spending the entire weekend at a camp run by Captain Klenzendorf, his second-in-command Freddie Finkel, and Fräulein Rahm, the League of German Girls leader. They are given child-sized uniforms and a special dagger before being taken to participate in activities such as grenade throwing, trench digging, map reading, and gas defense. Or, at the very least, the boys are. The girls learn how to dress wounds, make beds, and become pregnant. Jojo performs well in activities such as describing Jewish people and burning books, but when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, he becomes scared and flees, attracting the attention of the older boys. When the time comes for the boy to learn how to kill, the teenagers notice his reluctance and place a rabbit in his arms, asking him to demonstrate. Jojo claims he isn't afraid, but he can't bring himself to do it, so he tries to let the rabbit go. However, the teen boy grabs it before it can flee and kills it himself, then mocks Jojo for his failure. They start calling him Jojo Rabbit, because he's scared like a little rabbit, which irritates him and causes him to flee to the woods. While he is crying on a tree root, an imaginary Hitler appears and tells him that rabbits are actually quite brave because they go out in the wild every day to get their carrots and they have to be sneaky not to get caught. Encouraged to be a fearsome rabbit, Jojo dashes back to camp, where Klenzendorf is instructing the children on how to throw grenades under his supervision. Jojo runs past him, steals the grenade in his hand, and runs into the woods, where he throws the grenade so badly that it bounces off a tree and lands on his feet, exploding on his face. Jojo passes out, but he has hazy memories of people transporting him to the hospital and his mother, Rosie Betzler, visiting him. He wakes up in his room a few days later, and the first thing he notices when he gets out of bed is the limp on his leg, followed by the scars on his face that he discovers when looking in the mirror. His mother visits him to check on him, then to hug him and remind him that he has her even though his father is no longer alive and his sister Inge has died. Rosie takes Jojo back to the Jungvolk headquarters after forcing him to put on his uniform again, where they find Klenzendorf awkwardly feeding Finkel. Klenzendorf has already been demoted for laziness, but Rosie still knees him in the groin and slaps him with her glove, forcing him to promise that he'll give Jojo some work to do, even if it's not on the field, so that he feels included. Jojo is tasked with putting up propaganda posters and delivering conscriptions around town, which he does enthusiastically. While working one afternoon, he notices his mother staring at a group of people hanged at a gallows in the public square, and when Jojo asks what they did, she responds, what they could. When he returns home later, his mother is not present, and he becomes concerned when he hears noises coming from his sister's room. He enters the bedroom to investigate and discovers a strange mark on the floor that runs up the wall, so he inserts his knife into it and successfully opens a fake section of the wall. There is enough space behind it for a person to crawl into, and various objects are scattered about. At the end, he is surprised to see a young girl, Elsa Kor, following him out of the room as he screams and runs around the house in terror. She catches him as he approaches the front door and shoves him against the wall, showing him his dagger and admitting she's Jewish, but she's there because Rosie invited her to hide in her house. Elsa promises that if Jojo tells anyone about her, she'll say he and Rosie helped her, which will get them both killed. Jojo rushes to his room after she returns to her hiding spot with his knife and discusses his options with a fictitious Hitler. He decides to negotiate and grabs a kitchen knife and a pot to protect himself before returning to his sister's room to tell Elsa she needs to find another place to live. He is startled again when she comes up behind him, grabs the kitchen knife, and kicks him out of the room. Jojo talks things over with the imaginary Hitler again, and they decide that he should make Elsa feel safe so she'll let down her guard. When Rosie returns home in the evening, Jojo tells her he heard noises upstairs, but she assumes it was rats. After putting Jojo to bed, Rosie goes to see Elsa to warn her to be more cautious, because if something were to happen, she wouldn't be able to choose her over her own son. She also reminds Elsa that they are losing as long as there is at least one person alive out there. Jojo goes to the swimming pool the next day, which should help him with his leg. Klenzendorf and Finkel are also present, sitting close together and showing fear of Rosie. Jojo approaches them after his mother has left and asks Klenzendorf what he should do if he comes across a Jewish person. The solution is to contact the Gestapo, who will execute them and anyone who assisted them. Jojo also wonders how one can identify a Jewish person, to which Klenzendorf responds that he has no idea and that someone should write a book about it. Jojo tries to contact Elsa once he returns home. He tells her that they're at a standstill because neither of them can tell on the other if they don't want trouble, and that he'll let her stay in exchange for information about the Jewish people so he can write an exposé book. Elsa accepts and explains that they are people like him, but because he won't believe her, she claims they are money-loving demons who are allergic to food. Elsa grabs him, covers his mouth, and shakes him as she explains to him that there is nothing weak about Jewish people before returning to her hiding spot. When Rosie returns in the evening, she burns something in the fireplace before pouring some wine and playing music. She's overjoyed because the Allies have taken Italy and will soon take France. Jojo starts arguing with her about being against her country, so Rosie cuts him off and tells him to eat. She refuses to eat, claiming she isn't hungry, and Jojo quickly suspects she is saving the food for Elsa, so he decides to eat the leftovers. He believes that if his father were present, he would understand, and because he so desperately wants to see him, Rosie puts on her husband's jacket and paints an ash beard on her face to chastise Jojo for speaking so rudely to his mother. She also asks her husband to take care of her because she's doing her best, then turns up the music and makes Jojo dance with her. Jojo gives Elsa a pencil and paper the next day and instructs her to draw where Jewish people live and where Jewish women lay their eggs. Elsa begins to draw, but refuses to answer questions about her family. She does, however, tell Jojo about her fiancé Nathan, who is fighting for the resistance. The drawing she gives Jojo is of his own head because that is where Jews live. Jojo devises a scheme. He writes a letter pretending to be Nathan breaking up with Elsa and reads it to her, who obviously doesn't believe him but is still hurt by hearing such horrible things about her with her fiancé's name attached to it. She rushes back into her hiding place, and seeing her so upset and human makes Jojo regret the whole thing, so he writes a new letter as Nathan saying the previous one was false and he still loves her. Elsa expresses her gratitude and requests that he bring her more letters in the future. They compete to see who can name more famous and important people on their respective sides, and Elsa wins when she mentions Jesus. Later, Jojo and Rosie go for a walk along the riverbank, and Rosie tells him how different this area used to be. There were always people there, dancing and enjoying romance, which Jojo despises. Rosie believes that instead of discussing politics, children should be playing and climbing trees, and everyone should be dancing as a symbol of freedom. Jojo, too, looks down and rides away on his bike, with Rosie close behind. When they get to the road, they see a truck full of soldiers returning home, looking depressed and defeated. Jojo returns home in a bad mood, so Elsa attempts to distract him by telling him ridiculous fantasy stories about her people. He begins to warm up to her and enjoy her company, which imaginary Hitler chastises later, telling him that his German brain should not be bossed around. Rosie spends some time with Elsa after he goes to sleep, telling her she's glad to have her and see her grow into a woman because she couldn't with her daughter. The next day, Jojo visits the Jungvolk headquarters and finds Klenzendorf and Finkel talking with their noses almost touching, a clear tension between them. Jojo tells them he's working on an exposé about Jews, but they laugh at him, not believing it's true. Klenzendorf decides to show him some flamboyant designs he's created for his and Finkel's uniforms. Then he assigns Jojo a new task: collecting scrap for the war effort. Jojo sees his mother handing out little anti-Nazi flyers while walking the streets dressed as a robot, and he also meets Yorkie, who has been accepted as a soldier. When Jojo tells him he's apprehended a Jewish person, Yorkie responds that he saw one in the forest and doesn't understand the fuss, which gives Jojo a lot to think about. As soon as he returns home, he pays Elsa a visit and gives her some colored pencils he found lying around, but he also reminds her that it is illegal for a Nazi and a Jewish person to be friends. Elsa points out that he isn't a Nazi because he hasn't hurt her. He's just a lonely kid looking for a place to belong. They have agreed to disagree. Jojo allows Elsa to leave the room and take a bath after she realizes how dirty she's become, and she even borrows some of his sister's clothes. They're about to have dinner together when someone knocks on the door, and after she runs back to her hiding place, Jojo opens the door to find a group of Gestapo officers led by Hermann Diertz, followed by Klenzendorf and Finkel, who say they had to bring Jojo some pamphlet, which sounds like an excuse. As Diertz questions Jojo about why his mother is gone all day and why his uniform is missing his knife, the Gestapo immediately begins searching the house for any suspicious activity. Elsa then appears, dressed as Ing and pretending to be her. She tells them she grabbed the knife because her brother was bothering her, so the Gestapo searches her room next. Elsa takes Ing's ID from her drawers and hands it to Klenzendorf, who asks for her birthday. Elsa correctly guesses and Klenzendorf lets her go, but Diertz intervenes when he sees Jojo's exposé book. The Gestapo begins to go through it, laughing at all the demonic drawings of Jewish people, and while Klenzendorf is unimpressed, Elsa is upset and betrayed when they reach a section where Jojo has described all the ways Nathan should die. The Gestapo, relieved that nothing was wrong, leaves, as does Klenzendorf, after returning Elsa's ID and Jojo's knife. Elsa discovers that the date on the papers differs from what she stated, implying that Klenzendorf has been assisting them all along. Nobody knows Ing is dead, so Elsa could pretend to be her and live with them normally, but she is still hurt by the book content, so she tells Jojo they can't be friends. Imaginary Hitler yells at Jojo for attempting to befriend Elsa and believing she is a good person, telling him to rethink his priorities. Jojo discovers Rosie hanged at a gallows in the public square while he is out getting some food. Devastated, he clings to her legs and sobs his heart out, even attempting to tie her shoe but failing. After hours of staring at the body, he returns home with his knife in hand, blaming Elsa for Rosie's death and preparing to stab her. He only scratches her because she stops his hand in time. Elsa takes pity on him and comforts him as he begins to cry again. She explains that she has always suspected Rosie as a member of the resistance, though she is unaware of the specifics, and that Jojo's father is also a member of the resistance, but Rosie told him the opposite so as not to upset him. She also admits that her parents were taken to a concentration camp, leaving the two of them with only each other. Jojo begins going out into the streets to scavenge food from garbage cans and notices how decrepit the city is becoming by the day. He and Elsa settle into a routine, sharing meals and reading Jojo's fake letters from Nathan. The city is thrown into chaos one afternoon when the Allies launch an offensive, taking advantage of Hitler's death. Jojo encounters Yorkie, who is carrying some weaponry around because the army is desperate for soldiers and is sending the kids out. Jojo tells him that the Jewish person he caught is now his girlfriend, and he's worried because it's illegal, but Yorkie points out that he's met Russians and Japanese who are worse than Jews. Rom finds them next, and after dispatching Yorkie with a gun, she gives Jojo a uniform jacket so he won't be accidentally shot by their own side. Then a bomb goes off in the area, leaving Jojo dizzy as he watches everyone fight, including children and the elderly, as well as Klenzendorf and Finkel in their flamboyant costumes. Jojo is too terrified to fight, so he takes refuge in an abandoned building until the battle is over. He returns after things have calmed down and sees the Americans removing Nazi flags and replacing them with their own, celebrating their victory. Soviet soldiers are apprehending every Nazi they see, including Diertz and the rest of the Gestapo, and when they see Jojo's jacket, they apprehend him as well. He comes across Klenzendorf among the other prisoners, who tells him he's a good boy and that he should look after his sister before removing his jacket and spitting at him, calling him a Jew, so the soldiers let him go. Jojo can only stand by and watch as Klenzendorf is led away to be executed by firing squad. Jojo meets Yorkie on his way home, who says he'll go see his mother for a cuddle. When he mentions Jojo's girlfriend being free now, Jojo becomes distraught at the thought of Elsa leaving and rushes back to the house. He decides to lie to Elsa and tell her that Germany won the war and that she can't leave, but after going through his book and seeing drawings of his mother and a rabbit in a cage, he pretends to write another letter from Nathan and reads it to her, telling her that he has a plan to sneak her out of the city. Then Elsa finally admits that Nathan died of tuberculosis last year, but she finds the letters comforting. Jojo admits that he loves her romantically, but he also knows that she only loves him as a brother, which she accepts, so he wants to help her escape in any case. Imaginary Hitler is disappointed in him and tries to persuade him to change his mind, but Jojo finally stands up to him and kicks him out the window. Elsa is hesitant to leave, but Jojo encourages her until she crosses the threshold. When a car bearing an American flag drives by, Elsa slaps Jojo for lying to her. They decide to dance to celebrate their freedom when they are unsure what to do next. If you liked this video, you will also like the video appearing on screen. Click on it to watch. We upload new movie daily, make sure to subscribe, so you don't miss any video. If you liked the movie, consider sharing it with your friends. Show that you care about them. Thank you for watching.